Okay, so today, thank you for coming out, first of all. It'll be a little different today. We're kind of gearing away from the class presentation format. I just wanted to get straight to the charts. I am gonna make like a part two to this next week. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have it as a class or just like a open forum Q&A or whatever, but um, today I want to teach you multi-time frame analysis, higher time frame analysis, and also how to look up the opening time frames that will be upcoming, which I think is very important to know what is upcoming so you can start coming up with analysis and see candle development into that time frame. Okay. So first, what multi-time frame analysis is it's looking at more than your standard time frames. Your standard time frames per the strat, or what most people use, would be your 60-minute, your hour, your daily, your weekly, your monthly, right? That's what most people are taught to look at. But the problem with that is you kind of have blinders when you only look at those time frames, right? So when you have multi-time frame analysis, you get to see what other time frames are doing and what they're setting up for. And that can help your daily analysis or your 4-hour analysis or your hourly analysis. So when it comes to higher time frames, the higher time frames, I want you to look at higher time frames as like the road, like the destination. The higher time frames are going to tell you where the candles are trying to go overall. Okay. So first, let's get into multi-time frame analysis. So as you can see at the top of my screen, I have more than one time frame. I have not only do I have a 1 hour, but I have a 65-hour, which is very useful. I have a daily, a 2-day, a 3-day, a 4-day, a 5-day, and so on and so forth. And I want you guys to write these time frames down. I'm gonna give you a moment to either screenshot it or write them down. Don't worry so much about this 22-week. That's not even one of my favorites. I was just looking at it, but I want you to write down from the daily all the way to the 12-month or screenshot it. And I'll give you some time to do that. Okay, anybody need more time? Let me know and I'll give you a little bit more time. Nobody? All right, moving on. So when it comes to multi-time frame analysis, like I said, we want to take off our blinders, right? You may have an actionable signal on another time frame that you didn't see on a daily, right? So a lot of us, when you're taught the strat, you're taught not to trade threes. A 3 isn't an actionable signal. Now, a 3-2-2 reversal is an actionable signal. A 3-1-2 is an actionable signal. But we are taught that a 3 isn't an actionable signal. Personally, I'll still play a 3, but that's my personal preference. But if you say, hey, D, I'm sticking to the strat, I'm being disciplined with it, I'm not going to trade threes, right? So if you were looking at this chart on Meta, we're on Meta, on a 1 day, and you've seen this 3, you may move on from it. But if you go down to other time frames, like here, we have a 2-day, right? It looks a little different now, doesn't it? So at some point, this was a 3. Let me go back to the daily. This, if we go back in time and we take away this 2 right here, because this was Friday that already happened, you would have just seen this 3. Now, if you were only looking at the daily, you would have moved on. But if you go to a different time frame, which the 2-day, which also opened on a Friday, this looks a little different, right? Now, would you play a 2-2 shooter? I think you would. I think you would play a 2-2 rev, which is also a shooter. I think that would be a beautiful setup that you would be interested in playing. But if you had only looked at on the daily chart, you wouldn't have seen this setup. You would have just moved on. Okay. So now what I want to show you is how to see when a candle is opening, when is the next candle opening. So if we go to a daily, we obviously know a daily candle opens every single day. And if I'm hovering over this candle right here, if you follow me down, trace me down, you see how it says Thursday, October 12th. If I go to the right of this candle, it says Friday, 13th of October. If I go to a 2-day chart, it says Wednesday, 11th. That's saying that this candle opened on Wednesday, 11th. If I go to the right of this candle, that's saying this candle opens Friday the 13th. So that helps you when you're looking at these hybrid time frames. That helps you know when is that next candle opening. And we can do the same thing for a 4-day. This 4-day open, as follow me down, it opened Monday, October 9th. And if I go to the right of it, it opened Friday the 13th. And I'm still in replay mode, so I'll take that off. So this opened Friday the 13th. And will help you not to mark entries on this candle, because you might say, hey, when does this candle close? It's inside right now, but when is this candle close and when is the next candle open? You'll just go to the right of it. This candle opens Thursday the 19th. Does anybody have questions on that so far? Or does anybody not know where I'm pointing to see the date that the next candle opens for a hybrid time frame? Let me check the chat. Okay, perfect. Yes, you have a question? Okay, can you guys make sure you mute yourself? If you don't have a question, just be very conscious to have yourself muted. I don't want to have to keep telling people to mute it. Just make sure when you come on, you're muted. And let me see who that is. Okay, they must have took care of it. Okay, so since we don't have any questions on that, one thing that I want you to do is every night that you chart, every single night, I want you to go down these time frames and see what candles are opening that following day. So I want you to start at the daily. You obviously know a daily candle is going to open every day. See when the 2-day opens. Okay, nothing there. See when the 3-day opens. I want you to just keep going down the list and see when these open. And in all actuality, you can do this on the weekend. You can already have it marked down, but that might just be a lot of work. I usually just do it during the week for my daily hybrid time frames. Okay. Now, when we're talking about a weekly hybrid time frame, a hybrid being anything that's not a weekly, we're talking about our 2-week, our 3-week, our 4-week, our 5-week, our 6-week, our 7-week, and our 9-week. This I'm plotting on the weekend. I don't want to plot these during the week because it's you can plot the previous candles, call and put entries, but it's just too much work. When it comes to the weekly hybrid time frames, these should be plotted during the weekend when the market is closed. And then you can see what hybrid weekly candles open up that following week, right? So let's see, does the 2-week open next week? No, the 2-week opens on October 23rd. Does the 3-week open next week? No, the 3-week also opens on October 23rd. Does the 4-week? And so on and so forth. You just keep doing that, and you want to write down and jot down what opens that following week so you can put that on your alert list. You can see what's going to happen that next week. And just because you look on Meta or one ticker and you see that following weekly candle opening, that's going to be across the board. That's for the whole market. Those are the candles that open for the entire market. Okay. So I've already gone ahead and seen what opens on Monday, right? So the candles that open on Monday will obviously be a daily, and it will also be a 7-day. Okay. So this 7-day candle is closed. So it closed as an inside bar. That's an actionable signal, correct? You wouldn't have seen that on a daily time frame. This is all you would have seen on a daily. But when you go to a hybrid time frame, this is an actionable signal. Okay. So let's see something. Because you're not supposed to, per the strat, you're not supposed to chart 2-2 continuations, right? You're not supposed to play them. So let's say we did. This is a put trigger, daily put trigger. And then this would be our price target. Technically, it's a very tight price target, but we'll mark it, and then we'll also mark this one as our daily price target number 2. Okay, so this is how it will look on a daily. But now let's go to that 7-day. So if you notice, the daily put entry, which you're taught not to play, you're taught not to play 2-2 continuations, which I don't necessarily believe in, but you're taught not to play these. So you may move on from this. But if you look on a 7-day, that same put entry for the daily is the same exact put entry for the 7-day for a 2-1-2 reversal to the downside. So now you do have an actionable signal off that exact same put entry. Does that make sense so far? Okay. So let's plot out our 7-day. And this may start getting a little hectic with the lines, but I'll make sure I explain everything. So if this was our daily put entry and it's also our 7-day put entry, they share the same exact put entry. Okay. So if we trigger 2 down on the same line right here, the same entry, per the strat, the price target for a 7-day would be down here, right? Now, why is that important? Some people may say like, hey, if I play a 7-day, does that mean I have to be a 7-day participant? No, you don't. But it is important to know where the higher time frames are going, because if you play a shorter time frame, you know it has to pass your price targets to get to its overall price target. Okay. So if I was a daily participant, and let's say I wanted to take it to this daily PT1, right? I know on a higher time frame, price is trying to get all the way down here to 298.50. So it has to pass my price target in the process to get down here. That gives me more confidence that my play would work, that my analysis would I have the cards in my favor at that point. Okay. How I want you to think of this is, let's say that you go to a party, right? Your friend throws a party and you didn't drive there, and you live about a half a mile down the street, and one of your mutual friends say, hey, I'm about to leave, have a good night. And you ask that friend like, hey, can you drop me off? I know you live a mile away, but I live half a mile on the way to your house. So that means for you to get home, you have to pass my house. So it's really not a burden, right? That gives you that it's the same thing. It gives you that extra confidence that your price target would hit, because on a higher time frame, you started off as a daily participant, right? But on a higher time frame, the 7-day is trying to get right here per the strat. This is where the 7-day is trying to go. So you can opt in to be a 7-day participant, or you can remain a daily participant and take your profit at the first price target. And even if you want to take it to the second price target, you have that extra confidence that it may go there. Obviously, when you add in the ATR also to see how much it can move in a day, you have that extra confidence that it's going to go to your second price target or even your first price target, because you know overall on the 7-day, the price target is down here. So it has to pass this and it has to pass this to get down here. Okay. Any questions about that? So if you're looking at a 7-day, do you want to add time to your option so you can swing it? Yes. So you can opt to be yes, Trim. You can opt in to be a 7-day participant if you see that's where the price is going, because you guys have to realize the strat and candles are fractal. So on every time frame it's the same concept across every time frame, right? So a 212 on a 1-day is the same thing as a 212 on a 7-day or a 9-day. It's the system is the same. The strategy is the exact same. It's just different time frames. So if you opt to be a 7-day participant, only thing with that is you will want to add plenty of time on your contract for that to play out. A good rule of thumb is whatever participant you are, double that time on your on your contract. So if you want to be a weekly participant, get a contract that's at least 2 weeks. So you give that time, you give enough time for it to play out. I even like to do 3 weeks just in case some foolery happens around in that time period. I give myself a little more cushion. I like to say give yourself as much time as you can afford. That's really the best way. Now your percentage gain won't be as great as somebody who took on more risks with a shorter time frame, but you'll have a better chance of your contract expiring in the money and growing in the money with that method. Check the chat one more time. Perfect. So I'm glad there's no questions there. So yes, every single day when you're charting at night, and you should be charting every single night until you master it, you literally should be charting every single night. You should be going down through the different time frames. First, see what's opening the following day, the next day. That's the first thing you should be doing. And then you should also be looking at the other hybrid time frames to see what is it setting up to do. Okay, that's very important. That's very important, is learning candle development, right? So for instance, we have this 4-day right here. This 4-day doesn't open on Monday, but that doesn't mean I can't watch the 4-day to see what it's setting up for. I can jot down in my notes like, hey, the 4-day is still inside. What would take this 4-day to go 2 down or 2 up, whatever the case may be, right? I can even mark those also. So I can say, hey, if this is how I draw my analysis. If we trigger 2 down on the daily, which would also trigger 2 down on the 7-day for puts, and we hit our daily PT1, what is the daily PT1? The daily PT1 is the put trigger for the 4-day for a 2-2 rev to the downside. Okay. So yes, the 4-day isn't opening on Monday, but that's how you can draw your conclusions with candle development. It's still inside as of now. But if we trigger the daily for puts, which would also trigger the 7-day, and then the daily hits its price target 1, that price target 1 is the put trigger for the 4-day. So this will no longer be an inside candle. This will be a 2-2 rev that shares the same PT as the 7-day down here. So now I have 3 time frames. That's all telling me the same thing. If this happens, this has to happen first. If that doesn't happen, if it never triggers the daily put entry, then all of that is invalid, obviously. But you want to think of if then, like if then thought process. If this happens, then this will happen. Okay. And let me apologize about that. Close Discord. Let me check the chat. What time frame do you keep up intraday? I like to look at it depends on what I'm trading. So if I'm trading like SPY or something, I'm looking at a 2-minute, a 3-minute, a 5-minute, a 15, a 30. But if I'm just trading like a common stock, I'm really looking at the 15-minute. The only reason I'll be on a 5 minute is to watch candle development, because 3 5 minutes equal 1 15 minute. So that's really the only reason I will even have a 5 minute up. But I really like looking at a 15, a 30, a 60, and I bounce between 60 and 65. And then I'll have the daily up too, just to see where I'm at in relation to the daily candle. Hopes that answers your question. But any questions about these multi-time frame, hybrid time frames so far? I really don't want to move on until you understand this portion.
I understand it all, but at some point, I don't know if you would have time today to go over really setting up those multi windows and how to navigate them. I don't know if that's a lot to get into, but
Oh, as far as like this,
you have this different screens and like, yeah.
yeah, no, I can. That takes 2 seconds. I can go into that right now, actually, and that's part of the presentation. So here, let me go back to the daily. So the way I have these screens up is if you follow my mouse right here, if you click this window pane option right here, I can either go for a one pane, a side to side pane. I can have all four next to each other. I don't know why you would do that because that looks crazy, but you could. But I like the four pane, like this. And that allows me to start with a daily and look at the hybrid timeframes here for the daily hybrids, a weekly, then I can look at the hybrid weeklies, the monthlies, I can look at the hybrid monthlies, and then the quarterly. So once again, you just come over, you have the alarm, you have the replay, you have the back button, and then right next to your layout name, you have your layout panes right here. Now, I believe, I'm not sure, but I have TradingView Pro Plus. I think, I don't believe with the free version you can have four panes. I think maybe you can have two, maybe you can only have one, I'm not sure. But I do have Pro Plus. I pay for that every month to be able to have multiple layouts. So if you don't see that, then it may just be because you have a free version.
Yeah, I have the Pro Plus too, but once you set it for like these four, so you have to individually click and change the, which time frames you want, and you move those windows individually, correct?
So you just click the pane, right? So like you see how I'm clicking the different ones. If I want a 2-day here, I just click this pane and then I click 2-day, and it only changes this to a 2-day. If I want a 7-day, it only changes this to a 7-day. If I want a 2-week here, changes that to a 2-week.
Okay.
Okay. And if you want to go into those panes, all you have to do is maximize it right here. It has this little maximize. There's a shortcut right there, but I don't use that. You just click this right here and it maximizes it. So now you just have one pane, but as you make adjustments on this one, so like let's say I do this like that, right? When I minimize this, this will also be on the other panes. Okay. So if this is a way that you guys want to set up your charts, something I highly recommend is do not go to the one pane, do your drawings, right? Like don't do your drawings on a one pane and then try to switch to a four pane. Because a lot of times it did it for me that time, but a lot of times it won't show up on all other four layouts or whatever layout you choose. So what is best is if you want to just draw on one layout, just maximize it for the most consistent results. Just maximize it, draw what you need to draw, and then once you minimize it, it'll be on the other four every time. Okay. When you click into these panes, if you look down here, you want to have your symbol check. And what that does is that makes sure when you type in a symbol, they go on each layout, on each pane. You want to have your interval not checked, because if you have the interval checked, that means if you go on a daily on one pane, it's going to go on a daily on all four. And you want to have your crosshair checked. And what the crosshair does is Whatever you do to one chart, it does to the other. Okay. And then you also want to come over here to the left side, follow my cursor over here. And you want to have this little globe checked right here too. So new drawings will sync globally. You want to make sure that that is on. And that'll make sure everything is synced throughout all the layouts.
Now I don't see that globe on my.
Yours may look like this, like a little paper clip or whatever.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So just go over, click the little arrow, and then go to new drawings will sync globally.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Let me check the tab. What broker are you using? Because I see TOS for the active trader, but I have Webull and would actually be cheaper to buy and sell options with TV Pro. I have TV Pro Plus. What broker I use TOS primarily, but I did just I opened up a Robinhood. I really use my Robinhood for paper trading. I tried to use it for scalps, for building an account for scalps with SPY and QQQ, but I just honestly I was too quick for the platform. Like it wasn't buying and selling where I wanted it to, so I didn't like it at all. I did open a Webull. I have not used it yet, but primarily I use TOS. What level of trading view subscription is the best? Personally, I think the Pro Plus is the best. And I also pay for real-time data because for me, when I'm charting, it is essential that I'm looking at different time frames. I like having the 4 different screens up at the same time, and that's what works for me. It really comes down to what works best for you. If looking at 4 time frames is too much for you, and you just want to click between different time frames, that's fine too, but that just doesn't work for me. Okay. All right, so moving on. So we've talked about the hybrid time frames. So now what we want to look at is higher time frames, which is different. So I want to look at XLK. Okay. Gonna look at XLK. And I'm gonna set this to the daily. Set that to the daily. Set that to the weekly. Set this to the monthly. And this is exactly how I would be setting up my charts. Literally every weekend, every day. This is exactly how I would set everything up. Okay. And let's move this over here. Okay, so I have my daily set up. I have my weekly set up. I have my monthly and I have my quarterly. So your quarterly and your monthly are your higher time frames. That's the highest time frame I look at. Some people look at 6 months in a year, but I just don't have this is my setup: day, week, month, quarter. That's what I care about. And then I go into the hybrids to see what's going on. But the day, week, month, quarter, that is what I care about the most. I'll switch to a yearly just to see where it's at. I'll switch to a 6 months to see where it's at, but this is how I'm charting. Okay. So when it comes to the higher time frames, and any time frame, actually, there's an important concept that you have to understand. And that concept is called uncoupling, right? So when you're new to the strat and they tell you that you want to have full time frame continuity, yes, you do. But full time frame continuity can also be smoke and mirrors. There's more context that come with full time frame continuity. Okay. So what uncoupling means is, I'll just use an example instead of a description. So on Monday, when the market opens, right, that is one day. That is also the first day of the week. So whatever the day is doing, the week will also show that. So if we're having a green day, we're also having a green week because there's no other candle to combat that. The week is doing what the day is doing because they haven't uncoupled. They haven't separated from each other. Now, once Tuesday comes, now we have 2 candles to go off of. okay? It will be no different from when the market opens in the first 15 minutes, right? It'll say that the day is green if the 15-minute candle is green. But once we get that next 15-minute candle, now what is the market doing? And then when we get that next 15-minute candle, now what is the market doing? Okay. So right now, in this moment of time, we just started the quarter, right? This month was the first month of the quarter. So that means that the quarter and the month will be doing the exact same thing. So if we go red on the month, we will also go red on the quarter because we have not had a second month to combat that first month. The quarter and the month are joined together as of right now. Does that make sense to everybody? Check the chat. Perfect. And if I'm moving too fast, let me know. Like, don't be scared to say anything. Don't be scared to ask questions. If I'm moving too fast, just let me know because I want to make sure you get this before I continue on. Okay. The consensus is that it makes sense. Perfect. So that is why it is important to know what is opening that next day, that next week, right? When you get a new monthly candle, you want to be doing the same thing you did on the weeklies. You want to go to a monthly. You want to see when is the next 2-month opens, right? When it's that weekend before a new month, like what is October 30th, October 31st, whatever. You want to see, does a 2-month open this next month? Does a 3-month open this next month? Does a 4-month open this next month? You want to be looking to see what also opens, not just a monthly candle. Okay. So as of right now, XOK has full time frame continuity besides the daily. On the higher time frames, we have a green weekly, a green monthly, a green quarterly, and a green yearly, right? So if you were in a trade, if you were only looking at a daily, and we have taught you about market structure, right? If you were only looking at a daily, this could look very enticing to you, right? Like we're green on all the higher time frames, but you have to add context to that. We just opened up on a quarter, right? So of course the quarter is going to be green because the month is green right now. And we had a green week. So that's why that's green right now. So if we look right here, we see on a daily time frame, we had this low and we begin to change market structure, right? On a daily time frame. We put in a higher low and then we also put in a higher high. This high is higher than this one. This low is higher than this low, right? So you may be thinking, hey, XLK look like it's ready to break out back up to the upside. You could be correct, but you have to look at the higher time frames. What are the higher time frames telling you? Okay, on the quarter, we're still inside quarter. On a month, we're still inside month. On the week, we formed a shooter. We formed a shooter candle on the week. Okay, and on the weekly time frame, we are also in a downtrend. Change that red. So on the weekly, we are in a downtrend. Coming off of this downtrend, we hit a resistance. So we failed to break above this downtrend line and take out this high right here. We failed to take out this high. And let me make that blue. We failed to take this out. So on a higher time frame, we are still in a downtrend, even though we have full time frame continuity to the upside. Even though on a daily time frame, we are technically in an uptrend, right? We were in this downtrend and now we're starting an uptrend. We still failed to break above a trend line and we failed to take out those highs that I previously marked on a weekly. Okay. So for a daily bias, as of right now, we are in an uptrend for the daily, for the smaller time frames, if that's what you were looking at. We are in an uptrend. But we also have to keep in mind those higher time frames. What are the higher time frames are doing? That way, If I'm only looking at a daily, I don't just expect price to just keep doing this, right? Because it's a chance that it won't. There's a chance that it won't keep doing that because the higher time frame, which is the weekly, is telling me that we are still overall, we are still in a downtrend. Okay, we may be in a short-term uptrend, but overall, we are in a downtrend. Okay. So this goes back to one of the classes we had, is just mapping out your trades, coming up with all the roadblocks that could prevent you going to your overall price target. Wherever you see price going, you want to see what can prevent you to do that. So the first thing is we have a trend line, a downtrend on the weekly, right? On the weekly, we also have a shooter candle. Okay, that is a reversal candle. A shooter like this, especially coming off of a downtrend line, that is a reversal candle. Okay, so that will also allow me to have a put bias, a down bias. I would be bearish just off of what I'm coming up with so far. Okay, and let me check the chat before I move on. Okay, that's not relevant as of right now, so I'll move on. So yes, so if I was only looking at a daily, I would be thinking, okay, we're going on a bull run, right? But on a higher time frame, it's telling a different story. So let's put those side by side. Let's see how those look. We'll make this a weekly. Okay, so this is the daily, which is in an uptrend, and then this is the weekly, which is in a downtrend. Which one do you think that I should go off of? A daily time frame or the weekly? And let me see in the chat what you think. What do you think has the bigger influence on price? Okay, we got some weeklies, higher time frame, weekly. Yes, if you said the weekly is correct. The daily candles help form the weekly candles. Okay, so we were in an uptrend on the daily, but overall, price is still in a downtrend. So I'm going to pay attention to the higher time frame because that's telling me where money is going overall. Yes, we might have a small term bull run, but overall, we're still in a bearish setup. Okay. So let's go back to the daily, and I'm going to show you guys how to chart and navigate this. So if you watch the fibs class, if you watch the class on coming up with like confluences and roadblocks in your trade, this is how you do your analysis. So my analysis is on a short term, on a short time frame, right? We are in an uptrend. Okay. So what I can do is for that uptrend, I can draw a fib and see where are we at in relation to that. Okay. So for my daily time frame, we did just reject a 382. Now a 382, a 0.5, a 0.618, and a 786, those are areas for possible bounces, right? Those are areas where price could possibly bounce and continue to the upside. Now, I do have to keep in mind that we are in a downtrend overall, okay? So my first analysis is if we trend down, I want to see where are the possible areas that price could reject from if I have a put bias. Okay, if I have a put bias, a bearish bias, I want to see what areas, what levels could price reject if it doesn't reach my overall price target. Okay, so let's actually, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's chart the weekly. Okay, so for the weekly, I will be looking for a 2-2 reversal. We have the shooter candle, and I would have a bearish bias. Oh, that was the wrong one. I would have a bearish bias. Weekly put entry. And this would be a weekly price target. Okay. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to trigger 2 down, and I'm looking for price to get to this PT1. Now, what are some things that are in my way of that? For one, as of right now, we have full time frame continuity to the upside. We're green on the week, the month, the quarter, and the year. Okay. So puts should not be in my favor with that in mind, right? But everything has context. Everything is relative to what you're looking at. So yes, we're green on the week, the month, the quarter, and the year. But okay, let's see what would make the month red. And let me take away all these lines so I don't confuse you guys. So where are we at in the chart? Okay, we're still inside on the month, right? So what would turn this candle red? And this candle is technically green. I'll turn off my strat for a second so you can see it. This is a green candle. So what would make this candle red, right? If you understand candle anatomy, if this is a green candle, you know that it opened right here and it closed. Well, this is a monthly candle, so it's still open, but it opened right here. So that means for this candle to turn red, it has to go below this level. Okay. And I like to call that the flip. Or you can call it, you could just put like the monthly open, and you can keep in mind if it goes below the monthly open, then it'll turn the candle red. But I like to call it the flip because I know it turns from from green to red. It flips from green to red. This is the level right here because this is where the candle opened. If it goes below this level, it'll turn this candle red. And I will draw something to illustrate that to see if it helps you guys. Let's see. Not going to extend it. We're going to make this green. And yeah, we'll make that green. Okay. So this is a green candle, right? So that means the candle opens like this, right? This is how the candle starts. It opens like this. And as it rises in price, it looks like this. It remains green. Okay. Now, this is the opening of this candle right there. So at some point in time, it looked like this, right? And then it grew into that green candle that we see, right? But when it crosses below that, now it's a red candle. It becomes red now, okay? That's why it's a flip, because up here it was green. Below that, it's red. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Perfect. So that's important to know. When does a candle open? So you know what, if you're looking at green candles, you know at what price point it turns red. Because once it comes below that price point, you no longer have full time frame continuity in your favor. Or if you were thinking bearish the entire time, you had a bearish bias. Now you know at what price point you have full time frame continuity in your favor. Okay. And that's exactly what happens up here. So let's go back to the weekly. So now we put that the monthly turns red once it crosses below this level right here. This was the open of this candle. We know that this candle will turn red at the open right here. Okay. I'm going to turn this back on. And we also said that the month and the quarter has not uncoupled yet. So that means whatever the month does, the quarter will also do. So if we come below this level, the quarter will also turn red also. So now we go back to our weekly chart. So now we can come up with an analysis. If we go 2 down on the week and our price target is down here, this is our weekly price target. In order for it to get down here, it has to turn the month and the quarter red. So obviously, if we go 2 down, the week is red, right? That's just that just makes sense, right? The week is red. If we cross below this level, now our month and quarter is red. And hopefully we got once we got in, that daily will probably be red too. And that's how you trade into full time frame continuity. So you don't always have to just look for setups that already have full time frame continuity. And then when you're looking at setups with full time frame continuity, you want to see at what point will it no longer be full time frame continuity? What would negate full time frame continuity? You always want to be very conscious of that. Okay. So if we go 2 down, and we'll draw it out again. So let's say we go 2 down, right? So right now, the week is red. Oh, we just flipped. Once we pass this level right here, we just flipped the quarter and the year, the month and the quarter red. So now we have the week, the month, the quarter red, and then we just come down to our price target. Like so. Okay. Now, what would that look like on a daily time frame? Let's go back to our daily analysis. So we said that we were in an uptrend for the daily, and I will draw the weekly back because I really did like that trend line. Turn my magnet back on. Okay. Okay. So now we know that this is an area where price could reject, right? On a daily, we're in an uptrend, but we know overall, this is clearly a downtrend. The overall price is clearly in a downtrend, right? So what I want to see is first, where could price bounce off of? So price could possibly go up here. Price could possibly come down to the 0.50 and go up. Price could possibly come down to the 618 and come back up, right? But what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a change in the market structure on the daily time frame. So what could possibly happen is we have this motion right here. We have up, down, up, right? So I'm looking for where price could possibly bounce to either continue up or to break through and validate my bearish bias, right? Those who have swung before, I know some people are new, they just been day trading or whatever. You ever notice, like, if you take a trade off a put entry, right? You ever notice that it triggers and then you're down like 20% then that whole week or maybe the next week, and then at some point it just takes off, right? That's because the put trigger or a call entry trigger, those are also support and resistance, right? And you have to look at where are they at in relation to the entire price action. So let's say we trigger puts right here, right? So let's say on a daily time frame, we're going down here. Oh, we just triggered puts. Get into puts. You might have a fib right there or a support or a resistance level right there where it tests that, it comes back up, and then it falls, right? That's why you have to be patient and trust the strat and trust your setups, because sometimes this is exactly what's happening. But what are the good things about this that happened? So we had a uptrend for the daily, right? So if this does happen, yes, we triggered 2 down for puts, and yes, it rejected and came back in, but we also broke trend and we also broke market structure. So if this does happen, we just put in a lower high, and we can start putting in a series of lower lows. We also just broke trend. If you look at this trend line right here, you can also see that this trend line is right at the 0.5, right? So if we break below the 0.5, we also break the trend line. If we break if we get to the 0.618, we broke the trend line also, but it may bounce, retest this trend line before dropping. So when you're swinging, you have to be very, 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 very patient. You have to be very patient with your setups, because it's not a one size fit all. You really don't have to understand all of this when you're swinging. All you really got to know to simplify it is once it trigger, be patient and trust that it's going to get to my target. That's really what you want to know. But if you're like me and you want to know like why things are happening, because I like to know why of everything, like I just ask questions. This is pretty much what's happening. So it was following this trend line, the short trend line. It hit the resistance of an overall trend, which was the weekly trend. It triggered your put entry, and maybe it came down to a 618. It bounced, and then it retested the trend line before dropping. Okay. And that's sometimes what happens. So if you're in a swing and you see you're down, I'm not going to make recommendations for your risk tolerance, but I do want you to understand why you might be down. You might be down because you hit a resistance somewhere, or a support somewhere, or a trend line somewhere, or a fib somewhere, and it's just testing that. It's retracing before making the move. And that's why I always preach that the move, you're probably right with your bias. It just might not happen when you want it to happen. It may not happen this week. It may not happen next week. But that person that was patient, that waited 3 weeks for that move because they were so confident in that move, that's the person that got paid because they waited 3 weeks for that move to finally happen. The market's job and all these algos' job is to shake out retailers. And those who aren't patient with their setups, those are the people that are going to get shaken out. They're going to see that they're down whatever percentage. And once again, I'm not saying, risk management, that is a personal journey. That's up to you. But also know that the market doesn't care about your percentage. The market is very structural. It's based off of algos, computers that have been preset and all of these things. They know when to shake you out. They know what they're seeking. They don't care about you being down 20%. I promise you they don't. So yeah, this helps you be patient with your setups by having a higher time frame bias. Short term, we're thinking bullish, but on the higher time frame, it's showing that it's bearish. Okay. So now on the daily time frame, we see all the areas that it could possibly bounce off and retrace, right? We have the 382, we have the 0.5, we have the 618, and we also have the 786. But if it gets all the way down here, it better hit that PT. Honestly, that you're just playing games if you get all the way down here and you don't hit your PT. So we have that in check. I would write that down. I would see what are all the levels that it could possibly bounce off of. So now I'll go to the weekly time frame. And we already said that we're in a downtrend, right, on the week. So now I want to see, where did we reject on this weekly time frame? Where are possible areas of rejection for this downtrend? Okay. When I pull up my fibs, I see that we rejected this zone right here between the 618 and the 786. Okay. This is your golden zone. All of this right here is where price is likely to reject. Okay. And don't get scared because I changed it. It's the same numbers. I just changed how it looks. But it's the same numbers of the 0.5, the 618, and the 786. Same exact thing. Okay. So that's telling me we're in a downtrend, right? We're in a downtrend on the weekly. We rejected a golden zone on the fib. That gives me an even clearer bias that we will be going to the downside until proven otherwise. Now, if next week we just get strong movement to the upside, then I was wrong. I'm cool with that. I'm not going to be right all the time, but I can only chart what I see. And as of right now, this is what I see. I see that we rejected this zone, which also happens to be where the trend line is. We rejected that. If we drop below for puts, we will also break a uptrend on a smaller time frame, being the daily. And if we reach our weekly PT, we will also flip full time frame continuity to the downside now. Okay, I know that was a lot. Anybody have questions? Do I ever front run a trigger? Yes. Okay, so yes, I do sometimes. But I only like to do that if it already triggered. So like if it's inside and then it peeks its head out and go 2 up, right? And then it retraces. I'm not gonna wait till it hits the trigger the second time. I'm gonna get my entry after it retraces. But I usually, unless like I'm trading SPY, where I'm just trading straight price action, I don't really care about what's happening on the higher time frames as much. Yeah, that's how I do that. Um, at which pivot would you get a shift in structure? Okay. I'll go back to the daily to show you that. Let me take this off for you. Oh, sorry. This is still a weekly. Okay. So they asked at which pivot would you hit a shift in structure, right? So here, as you can, let's look right here. As you can see, we had we were in a downtrend, right? And then we start putting a lower high in. This is your first indication that a structure shift is coming. We just put in a lower high. So once we had that 2 up, once it takes out this high right here, that confirms the uptrend, right? Because now we have a lower high, a higher low, and we also have a higher high. So that confirms a short-term uptrend. But as you can see, this is kind of the situation we're in right now. We also had that overall downtrend, which serves as a resistance. So yes, we had a short-term uptrend, but we ran into a resistance on a higher time frame, which is stronger than this smaller time frame movement. Okay, so once it hit that, then we started putting in lower lows. Now, when it looks like this right here, you won't know that this is a lower low until you watch it play out. So once it comes down here, in order for this to continue the uptrend, it has to take out this high right here. It must. It's a requirement. It has to. No questions about it. If it does not take out this high like this, then the market structure has shifted. So when you see movements like this is when you need to start being on notice on what's happening. You need to be watching what is happening. Okay. So in your mind, you should say, hey, we retrace. And at this time, and this is hindsight now, you would only see this 2 down hammer. Your bias should still be that it's going up until proven otherwise. So you, in your mind, you should think this is just a retracement to go up to the upside until it proves me otherwise. Well, it proved you otherwise. Okay. We put in a low right here, and then we put in a lower high. So that tells you that this is now a downtrend. Okay. And then it continued putting in lower highs. Right. So that's the same thing over here. If you look to the right side, that's kind of the situation we're in right now, right? We're in this short-term uptrend, low, high, higher low, higher high, right? Now we're retracing right now. So if we retrace right here, right, we have to take out this high. If we do not take out this high, then this is a downtrend. This is the beginning of a downtrend. So when it comes to XLK, this is things you have to watch out for. You know that we have a downtrend right here on a higher time frame. You know that we have to take out this high. It is a requirement. If we don't, then this is the beginning of a downtrend. Okay. So what this will start to look like is, and I'll bring my fibs back up. What this would start to look like is you will have this type of motion. And you can screenshot this. If you don't believe me, you can screenshot this and come back to it and next week. So we have this right here. What can start happening is we come down right here. Maybe we hammer or something like that. We have a reversal candle. And then we come back up to this zone, somewhere in this area. And then we start putting in lower highs and taking out previous lows. Okay. Until we get down to our price target. Okay. And if you don't believe me, screenshot it. These are the pivot points though. These are the pivot points. This is what's happening. So this is a swing low right here. We have to take out this for this to this is where price is seeking this low right here. Okay. So to answer your question, in this uptrend, the pivot points were the original pivot points were this low, this high, right? For this to continue an uptrend, we had to go higher than this low, and we had to take out this high. We did that. So then right here, we have this low, and now we have to take out that high. We didn't. So now you're thinking downtrend. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Oh, I wasn't coming for you. When I said if you don't believe me, check. I was just saying this is how price action works. When you see it happen time and time again, this is literally how price action works. And I'm saying screenshot it so as it play out, you can see like, you know, how did he see that? It's just because I have the confluences. I have those if then statements, right? Like I know what's standing in the way for an uptrend, right? I know for us to be bearish, for us to be bullish, I know what's standing in the way. For us to be bearish, I know what confluences I have to be bearish, right? And then once you start putting those together, you start seeing what levels that we could possibly reject. What levels could we possibly break through, right? We have support and resistance levels. Where could price possibly struggle, right? This was once a resistance right here. Oh, look at that. That's exactly where we bounced off of. So maybe once we break through here, it flushes, right? You want to just know what's going on with price. What's going on with these candles? Where are we at in relation? Don't get so tunnel vision to where you're only looking at one thing, right? Because this could just tell you this is a bull run. This is we're starting an uptrend. Now you may be right. It could work out like that. But what are the other things that could hinder that from happening? Higher time frame downtrend, shooter candle, which is a reversal on a weekly time frame, also in a downtrend, looking to continue this downtrend until proven otherwise. Okay. Now, when it comes to the monthly, we see that we are still inside month. So what would take us 2 up or 2 down on the month? This level right here for puts. This level right here for calls. And even if I'm day trading or even if I'm on a smaller time frame, I still want to know where those levels are. I want to know where am I in relation to the higher time frames? Where am I at? So I know if I'm on the weekly, right? If I was swinging on the weekly and I happen to come down to this level, I know, oh, now we're taking the month down red. That's an even bigger, that's a more aggressive move. I have a higher time frame telling me we're going 2 down on the month. Okay. So even if you're trading lower time frames, you still want to chart these higher time frames to see overall where is price going. Okay. The higher time frames tell you where price is going overall. Okay. So think about if you're looking at a 1 minute versus if you're looking at an hourly chart, how much information is that 1 minute going to tell you about what's happening in the day? Not that much. Now, if you're looking at an hourly time frame, that'll give you more information of what's going on for that entire day. A 1 minute won't tell you that much. It's the same breakdown for a daily up to a monthly. It's the same thing. A daily will be similar to like a 5-minute chart, and then your daily would be similar to like a monthly or a 3-month. You want to be looking at those higher time frames also to see where is price going overall. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? And I don't want to keep you guys too long. Like I said, we're gonna have a follow-up class next week, and the reason being is before class, I already went through the time frames to see what opens up and when they open up. Most time frames on the weekly open up next week. So if we look at the weekly, and I'm gonna delete all of this stuff. If we look at the weekly, that obviously opens next week. The 2-week opens the 23rd. The 3-week opens the 23rd. The 4-week opens November 6th. Okay, I believe the 7-week opens the 23rd. Yep, the 7-week opens the 23rd. So I want to show you guys what to do when you have all these other time frames. The 6-week opens on the 23rd also. I want to show you guys what to do when you have all of these other time frames opening up at the same exact time and how to chart that, because that's very important too. If you look at this higher time frame, like let's look at a 9-week. Look at this. We just hit all-time highs. This thing is exhausted. No? Doesn't this look kind of exhausted to you? This looks like a broad information to me. Right? But would you see that on a daily time frame? Possibly not. You probably wouldn't see that on a daily time frame. This is showing some exhaustion right now on this higher time frame. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between a monthly chart and a 4-week chart? Can anybody come off the mic and try to explain that to me if they know?
I'm just going to take a stab at it, but a monthly chart could actually have more than 4 weeks, correct?
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what it is. So a monthly chart, I want people to think, what month had 5 weeks? I believe May had 5 weeks, right? So a monthly would be May 1st to June 1st. It doesn't care about how many weeks are in between. It's the first, well, maybe not May 1st, but the first day that the market opens of that new month. So if that's Tuesday, if that's Monday, May 3rd, if it falls like that, then that is the beginning of that new monthly candle. Now, a 4-week candle is literally 4 weeks. It's a 4-week interval. So if you have a month that has 5 weeks in it, that monthly candle will show all 5 weeks. But the 4-week candle will be maybe the first week, the second week, the third week, the fourth week, and then it will restart. It will reset in the 5th week of that month. So the 4-week doesn't always line up with the monthly. I get that question a lot. What is the difference between a monthly and a 4-week, or a 8-week and a 2-month, or whatever the case may be? That is the difference. So if you count on your hand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you got to restart, right? And then you got to count again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In a 4-week basis, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Versus a monthly, it's literally the first day the market opens in a new month to the next first day that the market opens in a new month. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't want you guys getting tripped up on that. As of right now, does anybody have questions? Like I said, there's going to be a part 2 to this where you can see, we're going to go more in depth. I just wanted to introduce you to these ideas first. And when you guys have, I believe Sal and Tencho will be having their charting, their watch list probably tonight. You guys will be able to look at it in a different view going into that class. You'll be able to see what they're seeing. And then next week I'll dive deeper into it a little bit. But I wanted to introduce you to these ideas so you know how other traders are thinking on those hybrid timeframes. A lot of people don't teach hybrid timeframes. They're not even really familiar with them themselves. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to that idea. But as of right now, do we have any questions on what's been going on so far?
Yeah, I have a question. When you have that downtrend on the week, would you have used the hybrid timeframes on the daily to kind of see if the daily was going to start a downtrend?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would have. And I'll just show you that too. This is the weekly. I'm glad you brought that up. Excellent question. So I don't want you guys to forget all the other stuff I said too. You know, I was giving it to you in a singular piece by piece. But yes, absolutely. I know that downtrend is there. We had a 2-2 reversal right there. This is really like a doji candle, so that really wouldn't have told me where price was going, but this long wick showed me selling pressure. So I could be thinking puts there, but I would still go down the list. What is the 2-day doing? Okay, that looks more like a shooter, right? To me, that looks more like a shooter candle on the 2-day. What is the 3-day doing? Okay, we have a 2-up, a failed 2-up. Well, this didn't fail because it actually hit its price target, but we have a 2-up that started going down. I could be thinking, okay, if we go 2 down again, that would put in a lower high, which would confirm the downtrend, right? So if we go 2 down again, if we go 2 down right here, that will confirm the downtrend. Where would price be trying to go? It would be trying to take out this previous low to continue the downtrend. Okay. And yeah, I would just keep going on the other time frames and see what's happening. When is the 4-day open? The 4-day opens on Thursday, but it opened. This one opened on Monday. Okay, so I will keep this in mind. If we're inside 4-day, if we go below here, that will be a 2-2 rev to the downside. And yeah, I'll just keep using those hybrid time frames. Look at the 5-day, same situation. This opens on Thursday also. We are inside on the 7-day, and the 7-day is closed. So since the 7-day is closed, I know I can plot entries on that. I know I can, that is a 7-day put entry. And this is a 7-day call entry. If you just like inside candles, some people that, you know, they stick to their setups, and I do not knock you for that at all. If you just like to trade inside candles, shout out to you. Master that. Like, keep trading insides to you. you the inside candle guru. Some people only like trading inside candles, but sometimes you miss out on opportunities if you're only looking at one time frame. So if you only trade one setup, right, you definitely need to be looking at these hybrid time frames, because you might find the setup that you like to trade on another time frame. Okay, that is very important to know. You might find that setup that you like on another time frame, not just the daily, not just the weekly. Those other time frames may offer you an opportunity, such as this 7-day. Okay, we have an inside 7-day. This candle is closed, so I can plot on this. I can plot my call entries and my put entries. This is a closed candle. And now I can watch it play out. And now I can do my analysis on this inside candle in relation to the rest of the price and the other 7-day candles, right? I can do my analysis on this time frame, and I don't have to worry about daily as much, or the 3-day. You know, I can just look at this time frame. If we go 2 down, that will make this a swing high, and that will mean we're going back down here. Boom. What is the 10-day doing? If you know, if that's what you were looking for. Okay, so yes, I would still be, even though I drew the trend line there, I still would be looking at the other time frames to see what is happening. If you're some of those people, I did see in the group, some people, they say, hey, I'm sticking with a couple tickers. There's somebody who they say, hey, I'm looking at AMD every single day. If you're looking at AMD every single day, or you're looking at certain tickers every single day, you need to know what's going on with all those other time frames every single day also. Because that will open you, once you master this, once you see this, you're going to come back and you're going to look at these charts like, wow, I've missed so much information because I had blinders on only one way. And when you look at things only one way, you start seeing things that you want to see. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here's a downtrend, here's an uptrend. Well, you already had a bias that it was going down, so you wanted to see that. What is it doing on those other time frames that may be telling a different story? Okay, so that's what I want you guys. That's the takeaway. To look at these hybrid time frames, do multi-time frame analysis, look at what candles are opening the following day, the following week, the following month, and do analysis on that. What stands in your way from your bias? What helps? What confluences do you have for your bias? Okay. If you're thinking long and you have a downtrend line right there, that stands in your way. Okay. If you're thinking long and you just broke a trend line, that is a confluence to build on your bias that you should go long. Okay. That's how I want you guys to be thinking. Any more questions?
I have a quick question again on the multi-screens.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed when I did my own and when I'm looking at yours, when you look at the indicators, they're different on different time. Like one of them says 10, the rest of them say 9. Do they
Yes.
not carry over?
They so you can have them like that. I always forget to do it when I make a new layout. But what you can do is you can have like a this indicator template, whatever, and it'll like you can just like have what like let's say I have this 9 right here. I can save them under a template and just click them for everyone. But if
Okay.
you are correct, if I add a template on this one right here, it won't show up on the other ones. I don't know why it does that. I haven't really figured out besides going the template route up here. I haven't
Okay.
figured out a way to have them show up on all templates. I mean, on all time frames. So yes, you are correct. It doesn't do it. I don't know why.
I'll make the template. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any more questions? Anybody. I don't bite. I promise. Nobody. Everybody understood everything. Yes, I'm going. This will be posted on YouTube. If it's not posted, yeah, it'll be posted on YouTube. Yes.
What's the indicator you have that shows actionable and inside or outside? I've never.
Oh, this right here.
Yeah.
This is the I really don't like. I hate that you even seen that. It's, that's the so what strat indicator do you use? Do you use Strat Teach V2 or do you use Strat Assistant? Strat, what do you use?
The one I have is the Strat. It's just called. I forget who created it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. It's in the Strat Teach V2. It has it down here in the settings. I really like to take that off because I don't like all that other noise. I know what the actionable signal it is. Like I don't need an indicator telling me that. That goes along with what the lady just said earlier. Sometimes the indicators they don't go on the other time frames, but when they do go on the other time frames, they don't have the same settings as the other time frames. So as you can see on these, they don't like these two, they don't have actionable right there. So I would have to go into this pane specifically and turn it off. It's very annoying, but you know what you're gonna do about it.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I like the ones that show the numbers as well. So, right on. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any more questions? Check the chat one more time before we head out of here. It's not my YouTube. It's actually Zamunda Profit Squad's YouTube. We're going to I post this in the education tab. You're gonna see it, and it's gonna link you to our YouTube page. Please subscribe to that. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss out on anything. And that kind of helps us track also, you know, who's watching on a consistent basis, who's going to the YouTube page. So after this class, this will be uploaded. It will go on the YouTube. Just subscribe to our page and turn the notifications on, and you'll never miss anything. Then you'll have all our classes in one spot. Okay.
When I go to that YouTube page for the Zamunda, it doesn't let me turn on notifications. It says it's disabled.
Okay, I'll look into that. Some of those videos that we posted on there are unlisted. So we have some that's listed to the public, and then there's some that only you guys can see that's like in Zamunda Profit Squad. So that could be why, but I will look into that because we're not completely public. We have some unlisted videos in there, but I'll look into that. Thank you for bringing that up also. Let me write that down. Any more questions before we hop off here? I'm not trying to rush this off. I just want to, you know, make sure I'm not taking up your time if you really don't have any more questions. Okie doke. So thank you guys for coming out. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. When you attend the class tonight, I believe, I don't know what time it is. I don't have the details in front of me, but I hope that once you see people chart now, you look at it from a different view. And that's where I want you guys to get to. That's what I want you to see. So we will follow up on this, but thank you guys for coming out and enjoy the rest of your weekend.